Welcome to today's show. This is 12 Days of Conversation. I'm your host, Gail Scott. And over the last couple of weeks, I have been interviewing many of my favorite people. And this particular couple that are coming on the show today are no exception to that. I have known them both for about 3.5 years, and I am really honored to be able to bring them in and have you get to know them a little bit better as well, because they are just magical, loving people. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Bill Little and Andrea Lee Austin to the show. Welcome.
Yay, thanks for having us, baby.
Thank you.
So the purpose of this show is really to help some people out there, you know, really connect to their hearts and figure out how to live a more loving, playful, passionate, purposeful life. And I know that that is something that you guys are doing. And as I mentioned in my intro in my email out to my subscribers, it's not what you were always doing. Both of you were in very different fields before you started down this journey. So maybe if you could just each give us like maybe just a minute or two, trying to help the audience understand how you could go from being a total technical architect and an accountant to being in this loving, conscious industry that you're in now. How does a thing like that happen?
What a great question. If I was going to try to shorten it, I would say that since the day I was born, I always wanted to make a difference in this world. And if you look in hindsight now at the threads of my life, even though I became an accountant, there was lots of choices, right? Whether it be helping nonprofits, helping people figure out taxation, it was always coming from a place of service. Fast forward, I started to have a real tough time in my 40s and figured I better do something different. And so I let go of my 6-digit job and my 22-year career and basically surrendered, would be my language, to allowing what the universe wanted to bring to me rather than me forcing my way into what I thought it should be. And so fast forward, this crazy man showed up in my life, technology showed up in my life that made total sense to me, not in the brain, right? But when I met it, my gut was like, oh, I know this. And so I started working with it. And because of my history, both physically, emotionally, and mentally, I could see the difference. And so when we came together, I was like, I'm in, like whatever you got going on, let's play. And where the businesses come around is having the financial background and the economic background to challenge people, just like you've done in this series, to doing business differently. So that's kind of the short stick from my perspective.
Thank you for sharing that, Anne, because I know for some people out there that these are challenging times, and you talked about, you know, following your own heart's desire and surrendering to that and doing things differently, living a different kind of life, which is what you've done. And so what about you, Bill? How did, you know, in a little short description, help someone out there understand, you know, what happened for you? You're the mastermind behind this technology that you guys produce for people.
Wow, with an intro like that, I don't know what to say. Simply, I was born in British Columbia real quickly. I was a preacher's kid. I decided to wander away from that and everything to do with religion or spirituality. But I couldn't wander away. Like there was always a part of me knowing I had to do something different. Until I was, I guess, almost 50, where it was like, okay, I got to do something different. And my background was computers and technology. I was pretty good at it because they paid me pretty good money at it. So I got opportunity to spend a lot of money with some, you know, teams of over 100. But what really astonished me is I had accomplished everything in life and I was miserable as shit. I was not enjoying life. I knew I could do more. I loved people naturally. I used to get in trouble as management because I was such a kind manager or director, whatever you want to call it. So really what it was to back away from just using technology for other people and start using it on myself. So I started using the tech in one sound session, changed my life forever in 35 minutes. It kind of blew me away. And so I then started just a whole pursuing leveraging technology. And the last while I've spent countless hours leveraging and extending technologies and creating our own. With the understanding, the proviso is I don't know what I'm doing, I get pictures and I follow the guidance I'm given me. And if that sounds weird to people, so be it, but that's the way it works for us. And so now our life, my life is certainly, I'm blessed with Anne in my life and sharing love and being able to share some hope. We use technology for all sorts of shitty things. How about we use some of it for really good and it's supporting us? So that's in a nutshell for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So I really, I wanted to take that time this morning for people to really kind of understand, that we start on one path and then signs show up. People show up in our lives and opportunities show up. And if we can be courageous enough to step out of what is considered the norm and, average for everyone and being part of the crowd, every single one of us is a star in our own light. And so we can shine that light wherever we go. And that's what I know that you guys are doing with the work that you're doing. And it's subtle, but oh, so powerful. So now tell people a little bit about the work that you guys are up to. It's quite transformational. If you're meeting someone for the first time, how do you explain what you do? How do you help them and to understand what the opportunity is that they're being introduced to?
I think the simplest way I can describe it is we are naturally beings of love. And when we come into this human form, we start to experience patterns or experiences or stories that are not love. And we're carrying those in our backpack, whether we know it or not. And so what's occurred, they're almost like holes in our energy field or our auric field. Because, if mommy beat us when we're young or daddy was an ass or like all those things, right? We all have them. And so what's come is a suite or a trinity of 3 significant technologies. They don't have to be used all together. Some are just simply audible, some are physical, some are distance, right? The trinity of these 3 unique technologies to help let go in our energy field some of the stories we're carrying that are not really our own. And so in that, we get a chance to more strongly connect to who we really are and the choices our soul desires, rather than constantly being impacted or affected by the vibrational impact of other people's projections and stories of what they think we should be. And the foundation of that, of course, is self-love.
Right. And so what I'm hearing is that really what you're offering people is an opportunity to kind of shift out of these patterns and using the technology to do that. I mean, we know that everything, there's a new term that I've kind of come to understand is that everything is a technology. A process is a technology, a structure is a technology. But, and I think that in our world, we think of, digital as being the technology, but actually everything is technology. So yes, we ourselves are technology also. And so what you're doing is you're kind of shifting the energetic vibration of ourselves as the technology that we are, using what I would say is a very advanced form of technology. And there's actual products, I understand, and there's experiences that people can have.
Right.
So explain a little bit about what those products and those experiences are that you would offer to people who are interested in this kind of thing.
Go ahead.
When there's two of you, you're never really sure who's going to talk next. So there's a little bit of a, whose turn is it,
I'm
baby?
trying to squeeze arms and stuff, but my signaling is off today.
So I would say there's right now 3 significant components, one of which we're going to offer as a gift today to anybody who's listening.
It's what changed me.
Now or in the future, because this was the first thing that introduced to me 9 years ago.
Right.
And I had been experienced enough to know the difference. So first, there's a set of frequencies based on your voice. And this is a technology we met with quantum sound therapy for him probably 12 years ago. So we take the voice sample using a cell phone or a WhatsApp from anywhere in the globe. 10 seconds is all we need. And we process it through a technology or software that analyzes 1.5 billion bits of data or information, because your voice is the signature of life. Your mental, physical, emotional energy is in your voice, whether you like it or not.
I love that. The voice is the signature of life. I really love that.
So we use that software to process your tones, your soul tones, or your personal frequencies, and we send them back for you to audibly listen to. And this was the first thing for me 9 years ago. I played it like 2 days straight. And for me, I was bawling. Now that was a really good thing because I'd stopped crying for 22 years. So it's probably time.
Cracked open something
to get some of that
here.
shit out. Let's just be clear. And that's not true for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But that aspect for me stood out because what we're doing is using technologies to bypass the ego, which wants to control. And understandably it does. We have mistrust, we have fears, we have insecurities. But the power of using these types of instruments is that we can bypass some of that of the mind and allow and work in the subtle energy field to release some of the sticky things that are holding on to us. So that was the first one.
The second one is when I started this journey, stopped being a computer architect, and I was struggling with health and emotional problems. So I was on St. John's wort as a natural antidepressant for years and years and years. And so I went and saw a practitioner who did a session with what's called a biofeedback system. And they hooked me up to wires and cables, and that session cost me over $30,000. And the reason is because I freaking loved it so much that I bought a system. And so then I started going, well, it's actually 34,000 Canadian. So I started going through training, but oh my God, it's complicated. Oh my God, does it work? Yes. Amazing. Right. They're all over the world, right? Even in Europe, they're in medical facilities, not in North America, but these are very powerful devices. And so over the last few years, when I went through a bit of a holy mackerel, I am so done with trying to save people, which is common in our spiritual world.
We had a little bit of a savior complex.
Yeah,
we're all enablers.
We keep it real, folks.
Especially with that as a preacher, absolutely, to serve. And anyhow, I came back from some trips and decided, you know what? Now's the time to use my skills. And I am good at technology. And so I literally created a system that allows people to access full sessions for as little as $2 or $3 instead of $100 or $200 with a practitioner. So really the goal was to make this available to the world gently and quietly. And so now we're able to deliver these, we call them distance. And they're founded in quantum science. Not that I understand it, for the record. I understand how to automate it. And so that's the second of the services.
So that's a remote healing technology that we use as part of our lives, and even with practitioners that are in our lives, sharing it with the ones they love. And then the last is a physical technology. I'm going to use my finger and point the little silver one right in the middle of my screen. The big white one is part of quantum sound that started years ago. And then a self-developed technology started 2.5 years ago. They're called the Infinity Series. And what happened again is we started getting pictures. When he started to build them, I had to be quiet because I talked too much. And
I know that feeling.
Yeah. But what happened was what we started to do was get visions of being able to use physical technologies placed in homes and businesses, working with the subtle energy field so that we can use what's called scalar energy for good, for love, to help transmute some of the lower density vibrational type energies so that we can strengthen over time the connection to our soul or who we are even more strongly.
Beautiful.
That's what started last fall. 2 falls ago. Sorry, I lose track a little bit. And so
beautiful. So people really have choice in terms
total
of
choice.
You know, how little or how much they want to participate in this. Now, so tell us a little bit about what this has done for you guys personally. So, you know, the focus of this series that I've been doing has been around, you know, living your purpose and living passionately and playfully. Has that impacted you guys in the way that you operate in the world now from an energy perspective? Is it different? How is it different? Hey, what did you say?
Can we swear?
Of course you can swear.
Yeah, you know what? I found a video of Bill when he first started working with these quantum technologies.
11 years ago. Yeah.
And
12.
if you were to look at that, and I'm happy to share, you would see the difference and the presence of the being and the soul. And so, and the same is for me, right?
Absolutely.
Like I could show you something from 9 years ago. And I remember one guy, when we were doing a sound session, said, "Oh, you're going to become dependent on technology. You shouldn't do that." And I'm like, well, okay. And then I saw him 1.5 years later, and he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, "Forget it. I get it. I can see the difference between the being I met 1 year ago." And so what I've realized is our soul wants to have a great life. Our soul wants to create.
And we're worthy of it.
And
all of us.
And so it's only all the other stuff, right? I get it. Oh, I'm not playing perfect here. The mental, the energetics of living in this reality that can make it more difficult. And so as we introduce these technology over time for us specifically, and depending on where people are at and where they engage, they are just change facilitators, right?
Right. I really
You don't
get
want
that.
change, please don't come. Please don't play. We're not your people. But then people would say, well, what change? Well, we can't predict that. We are simply providing energy, technologies that facilitate connection for you and whatever that means to you.
So for me,
Yeah.
very two personal examples is that first session where they used the voice. So we sat in a group of 8 of us and recorded a voice, and then the computer figured it out and played it into a technology as well as auditorily so I could hear it. I went from wondering about, is there a something else other than us humans, to knowing. So in 35 minutes, I went from wondering to knowing. That was a complete systemic change.
So a complete download of awareness of.
Well, I wouldn't even say download. I would say expansion.
Beautiful word.
It would be more that I felt expanded and less restricted.
Got it.
And I could touch into the essence of who I was. And shortly thereafter, my consciousness opened up quite differently, and which was amazing and wonderful. but I guess likely that the secondary thing that really seemed to shift for me is a deep realizations that I surrendered. And not because of anything, but the other subsequent one was, I really don't know.
Right.
People like to think they know, right? It's like, huh, really? Do we really know? Did Einstein really know? Right. Or did he tap into something? I'm sure he did know, or was he theoretical? Now we've proved it 50 years later. Mm. So because my background was about, so what a computer architect is I go into large companies and I help them predict the future for 20 years. And then we help create the 10 or 50 or $200 million of investment. So I had to know. And so for me, not knowing was a big one. And as I let myself understand that I don't know anymore, then what also came along was this, well, surrender, let it go. And so since then, wow, life has flowed very interestingly. And that's not a code word for shitty. That's a code word for really good. Very interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think to sum it up, and I did that on the call that we had, Gail, we were reflecting on, is my life is more abundant. And I actually don't even mean financially at all. There's a tangible richness, a multitude of experiences that if I continued to plan through my linear thinking mind, I would have missed an opportunity or opportunities that can continue potentially for all of us for the rest of our lives.
Yes. Yes. I understand that so well, because in my own experience, since I've met you and I've been working with you and now have the technology, I even notice it in my own home that, there's 3 of us living here, all women, and wasn't quite sure what it was going to fly like. And it is, I have to say, very relaxing. And I'm even noticing, my children they have a consciousness level now that I'm not sure would have been available to them had I not had the technology in my house. A friend of mine said, "And how long have you had that technology in your house, Gail?" I said, "Yeah, I really believe that it's created this, this surrendering and letting go experience to be able to just trust that even though we don't know what's coming, we can really be in that space of acceptance and love." And I'm not saying it's always easy. I mean, God's sakes, it's definitely not always easy, but for sure there can be that shift. And I love that this technology is, I would say for the most part, quite subtle. I mean, I'm sure it has moments where it can bunk you on the head. But the subtleness of it is just so powerful, especially when we're bombarded with things, out in society and out in the media. So as you guys know, and Anne, you have been instrumental in this, my desire to share sacred economics with the world, and being given this by Spirit as a medium to be able to begin to share, the concept of sacred economics with the world. So I see you as my guru of sacred economics, because I haven't read the book, but you have, by Charles Eisenstein. So for those who are listening and watching, can you give them maybe a little bit better explanation, I think, than I've been doing about why sacred economics is so important before we go to your offer? And I know we've got 5 minutes left. So, why is it so important for our world now to be shifting into this new energy?
Yeah.
So he's just going to add one thing and then I'll answer your question.
Okay, perfect.
We need to share.
So my guess is many of us on this call are listening to this for parents. And I'm at the stage where I have kids and grandkids. And my kids live in Saskatchewan, where I spent 35 years. My desire is to help and to support and love. But pardon me, but I'm stuck. I'm in Ontario. I'm not stuck. I love it here. How do I help?
Right.
And my daughter yesterday reached out to me because she and her husband and my 1-year-old grandson was stuck in a cold. And she said, "Dad, do you have anything to help me?" I said, well, do you want your littlest one to be put onto the system so he gets once, twice, 3 times a day, and when you feel immune boosts and feeling good, et cetera, et cetera? And she said, yes, Dad, I want that. And so it's the first time, almost makes me cry right now.
Wow.
That there's a reach out to say, I want help. And so for parents, we're seeing it in the community where they're putting their ex-spouses on it. They're putting their children on it. Without having to have the child be deeply involved in it. What does a 1-year-old know? Right. Other than it starts feeling better and the little guy starts feeling better. So for me, it was this just happened 2 days ago. First time in 12 years. So
wow, beautiful
what a gift
gift.
that finally are able to offer.
And such an acknowledgement from the universe that what you're doing is so aligned and so aligned for so many people. That we're beginning to see people shifting out of their heads and into their hearts. And beautiful.
Into sacred economics.
Right.
The gift mentality.
So where that came from, after having journeyed with my beautiful partner for 9 years, but also watching and witnessing the alternative, let's call it healing arts, is that we actually don't know the value of what we're really doing. In fact, for some of us, it makes us awkward and uncomfortable to declare that I am $125 an hour or I'm a $5,000 coach. And I'm not diminishing any of that. This is not about stating your value to the world. This is a very different approach, meaning that what we're doing is offering an opening of a door, allowing people to step through without condition, but then asking them to reflect on what that meant to them and what it was worth. And that doesn't mean you have to pay that, because not everybody can. So there's this openness to open a door, to get people to trust again, to experience new possibilities, and then honor where both they and, let's use the practitioner, at economically and financially. Because there are relationships where somebody, can look back, 10 years after working with somebody, 10 months, 10 minutes, and go, oh my God, you just changed the trajectory of my life. I don't know. And that's worth $10,000 to me, but I can't afford that. And this is what feels comfortable for me. And so what I feel is a sacredness of connection back into business in the way we exchange and the way we honor each other for our willingness to be here, to love and to help each other move forward.
Yeah. And I really have, felt that with the energy of this series, where it was really just an introduction to that kind of gift and shift in awareness that money is not always what we'll use, and that the idea that people can really go into their hearts themselves and see, and then also understanding that sometimes people do want to just give because they can, and they trust, like you were saying about trusting that that's going to come back to them in a way that they could never know.
Yep.
They just, because energy flows where love goes, and it's just such a beautiful synergy, and not what we're used to out there in the marketplace. And, it's a challenge in terms of helping people to get their heads around what this is, how this operates, right? Compared to what we've really been living under for 100 years.
Yeah. And in that, to sum it up, there does require a willingness to receive.
Yes.
We are so used to, I must do this by myself, or mistrust, and I get that, right? Like I told, right. Humanity's issue is not our capacity to give. It's actually our capacity to receive.
And I have had that experience where when I was doing my meditation series and I offered it out to a networking group, and they said, well, how much does it cost? And I said, no, there is no cost to it. And they said, why are you doing it for free? And I'm totally spirit led. And I said, because I trust. If I was told to charge money, I'd be charging money. But that's going back to that, divine messaging that comes through the heart, where we're deeply connected to our soul, which all the technology that you're using really augments and advances that for an individual. So tell us now what it is that you have decided to bring forward as part of this Sacred Economics, part of this show.
So it feels like there's two components.
Okay.
One is for sure anybody listening to this now in the future, if you would like to experience your own set of personal frequencies or soul tones, there's no condition to that gift. You are welcome. You simply need to connect. We'll send you instructions. We'll get you the tones and you just play.
Beautiful.
And what we decided is if that had value to you in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 6 months, we ask that you actually pay it forward to Gail, not us.
Ooh.
So I don't even know what that means yet. You get to decide, right? But that's our way of saying thank you to you. If it made a difference, then we want you to say thank you to Gail.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. And of course, there's so many ways that we can show gratitude. It's
right.
Not always in a dollar value. It could be a referral. It could be sharing something. It could be connecting.
It could be an idea, right? You have an idea after listening to Gail and you're like, oh, wait a second, we could do this.
Right.
Second part of the offer, though, from both of us is if those tones made a difference and you're at all curious and want to walk through the door of what it's like to use any aspect of what we were sharing, please understand that we'll ask you to walk through the door, have a conversation, and we will make an offer, but it'll be unique to you. Right. In other words, I can't tell, I don't want to make a broad based for everything else we do, because depending on who you are and what you're looking for, and we're not going to try and sell you the $10 million package. It's not what we're doing. But if you're willing to talk to us and be vulnerable on what you're looking for in the world, we will do the same. And we will share what we think is possible and put it together in a way that's unique to you.
Beautiful.
That was the second component of our offer, and grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. So for anyone listening, if you are interested in any of these offers that Anne and Bill have brought forward, then you will be getting in touch with me at the number that I'm going to give you. Now, as part of this video series, I have been matching everything that people have brought forward in their offerings. I'm not exactly sure at this moment exactly how I can match your offerings. But I think what I would say is that one of my gifts is just reading. It's just psychic reading for people. And often it can be something quite small. I can just get a hit in a moment. So if there's anybody out there who would like one of those, I think I'm going to give it a 10-minute time slot, because I do believe that, you said 10 seconds for the voice. So, I can speak for a lot longer than 10 seconds. I would give 10 minutes of my time to do whatever psychic download comes into me for you. And the other offer would be is if you are interested in working with me, this would be more on a spiritual mentoring kind of experience. Then again, just like Anne and Bill, I would be open to having a conversation with you. And you get to decide whether or not spiritual mentoring is for you and in what capacity. And just like Bill and Anne, it would be on a one-by-one basis, unique to you, depending on what really has come out of the benefit of that 10-minute reading, where you would be able to define, okay, this is what I need. This is what I want more of. This is what I would find helpful in my life. So I'm going to have to figure out how to write all that down so it's clear. But so that's the sacred offering. If you're interested in either of those, you obviously as the tones, you definitely can access them. the other ones and my offers, you can come to me through my cell phone. You can text me at 416-358-1457. Again, that's 416-358-1457. And if you are listening on the YouTube replay, please don't hesitate to reach out because this is a great opportunity that I know could create some real shift for you that you might not just be aware of at this point in your life. So as we wrap up, I want to thank you both so much. You know, it's just always so interesting every time we get together. I know there's a million other things that we could talk about because you guys are so involved in so many different aspects of life. And you're also on Patreon. So now tell people here how they can learn more about what you do. Where can they find you? Where's the best place for them to get more information?
I'd say two places. Up in Zoom is loveevolution.ca. That is more of the embodiment of love and what we mean by that, and the community aspect, because we do offer a significant community component for those that vibe in that way. And then myconsciouswellness.ca was more of the technology side. So you'll see videos in there of us, explanations. It's not perfect, it's not pretty, and nor does it look like sacred economics in the moment, because we built that several years ago before heading in this direction. But what also came to us is if reaching out to Gail makes sense to you and you feel like there's a synergy, Gail, there's an opportunity for us to combine the technology and your spiritual mentorship to do both. And we get that opportunity when we feel there's an alignment, not required. But we wanted to make that into this offer. If the individuals that reach out to you, you feel like that's potential, let's have that conversation offline.
Right. Beautiful. So a lot of opportunity for anyone watching here today and in the replay to connect with us and just see how this technology can really assist you to elevate, you know, the quality of life that you're experiencing today and moving forward. So wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for being here today. It's just been amazing. And I'm so grateful for, you know, the time that you've taken to come and just talk to people about what you do and share a bit of your wisdom. So thank you so much. Now, before we close, I just want to say tomorrow's guest is a lady by the name of Kathleen Mckay. She is a healer and a beautiful soul working out in Southwestern Ontario. I am super thrilled to have her come and talk to you. She is a light, a definite light for her community. And so join me tomorrow at 12 o'clock at the same Zoom link where we will have a lot more fun and laughter and love. And so thank you once again for joining us, and we will see you next time.